And here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Extra Connections Live. I am James Lott Jr., and I'm here to connect with people, places, things, and ideas. This person is a person. He's a people. And we're going to connect with them about places, things, and ideas. That's what we're going to do tonight. So I'm very happy to have him on. He's a good friend of mine. He's artist, host, and a producer. And I don't know what else he does. We'll find out tonight what he's doing these days. My friend, Nate Miller. Hello, Nate.
Hi. Hi, James. It's good to see you. It's been a while with everything else that's been going on in the world. Thank you for having me, though. It's good to be here.
Yes, we haven't spoken in a while since some stuff that happened last summer.
I'm pretty sure I asked you if I could be a part of something in one of your shows, and you were like, "Yeah, of course." And then here we are.
I do 10,000 things, you know that, and all of a sudden, I don't forget you. I didn't forget you. I was like, I'll get there. It just takes me a while to get there. I was like, I didn't forget you, but I just do 8 million things, so it's kind of crazy. But so while we get everybody in the chat room and stuff, this is Extra Connections. My show has been going on for about 3 years, and we talk to people all the time. I'm doing them live now because they're a lot of fun live. And oh wait, where did Nate go?
Uh-oh. Did you lose me?
Yeah, your camera went off. There you go. There you are. Oh. I saw the red line. I'm like, where'd he go? Hi, folks who are watching. You just come in. So we're JLJ Media, which is everywhere. It's my online network here on YouTube. Also, if you're listening to this later as a podcast, go to any streaming service and you'll find us there and all the other Extra Connections this is. I'll do that. Okay. Okay, and I sent you a link to you just now on the chat. So with that, do that too. And folks who are coming in, you can come in and look at this. It's a strange time period. Hi, Kirsten Marie. It's a strange time period, and I want to ask you, like I ask a lot of people, how are you doing? And I say that not just in the "I'm fine, thanks," but how are you doing, Nate
Miller? If we're being honest, not great. It's been a rough year for sure. Like you said, it's hard to, it's kind of incomparable to, other things that I have experienced, let alone most, people older than me that have more life experience have experienced. So, having that on top of still having that kind of millennial, almost 30 kind of crisis of like, all right, what am I doing with my career and the rest of my life? And like, I need to get my shit together and be an adult kind of stuff. It's a lot. And I also deal with depression. I've had clinical depression for, at least 14 years now, like a long time. I've kind of struggled with it. And past year I did start back into therapy with a therapist I've been kind of on and off with again with a while. So that's been really good. And I also started doing some medication, so that's been helpful too. So I've had some really rough like lows. Like there was a point there of where I didn't know I was going to live because I had to move, and being out of work all year makes it really difficult to move. Just a lot of really stressful stuff on top of the normal, life things that everybody deals with. But the silver lining kind of was I did build stronger connections, with my family. And also it's like that thing of like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Like you learn that you can like work through certain stresses and still like get what you need done. And so, there's some comfort in that. But if we're being honest, like you said, like I'm not doing great. I'm hoping that I'm gonna be on like an upswing, like things, go bad and then they start to get good. The COVID situation in California is kind of a mess, unfortunately.
Yes.
The political situation is slightly better, but I still have a lot of reservations about that. And to be honest, I don't know, like I really miss working, which is just weird, but just like I miss the having something to like look forward to, So I've been trying to like really push myself to do this streaming thing and get myself into like a schedule of my own, because I know that I benefit from that kind of stuff. Because that's like, it's just like the like time is just like weird. It just doesn't mean the same thing anymore. Like it's been weird. That is like the biggest thing. Like not necessarily bad, but I mean there was bad, but there was good too. But overall, in general, like I never would have imagined like experiencing this, or let alone that even when it was like just starting to like take into effect last year, like I don't think me or most people were really thinking like how long it was going to last and like the effects and all that stuff. So yeah, it's just a lot. I've been trying to focus on what I can change and put my energy into, and not put too much energy into the stuff that's just gonna stress me out. But yeah,
Well, Nate, I'm glad you're here.
how are you?
So I'll tell you. I'll tell you. I don't know. I'll tell you why. But I just what I first wanted to tell you. Personally, I'm glad you're still here. I'm glad you're here.
Thank
I know
you.
what
I
it's like to have
appreciate that.
low. But I know I do. I mean, I always check. I see what's going on online. I try to check on you. You're very open about things. But I love that you express yourself and you're open. That's part of the key. Actually, I kind of am still living. But how am I? So as a person who, as I don't know if you remember, I had a severe case of Bell's palsy a few years ago, and I was paralyzed. So I couldn't do anything for a year. And so I thought that was my lowest point in my life, where I couldn't talk, sleep, eat, work. I mean, for a whole year, I was down for the count with no
Yeah.
end in sight. I had no idea when the end was going, if there would be an end. So I was kind of quarantined it was kind of weird. It prepared me for this year
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that kind of
in
makes sense.
a
Just
weird
kind
way.
of quarantine in a way, yeah, because you
Yeah,
didn't really. Yeah.
I couldn't do nothing. I mean, I couldn't eat
Yeah.
and I couldn't do anything. So I was home most of the time that year. I mean, I literally was just always at home. And so when this started happening again, we thought few weeks, few months, my summer, whatever. I stayed home, and I documented this, and it's online on my channel. You can see it. I didn't see anybody or talk to anybody or be around people in person for 90 days. I was told, because my severe case of Bell's palsy, my heart condition, if I got COVID, I would die. Chances. So I took it very seriously. I'm a little older than Nate Miller. I'll be 52 in a few months. And so that also put me in a group that was a little more risky, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took it to heart. Did you see my parents? Did you see my kids? Did you see my grandkids? Did you see my sister? Nobody. For 3 months straight. Day 68, I went crazy. Like literally just like lost my shit. And
Were you like talking to people like online at all, like
so
Zoom or anything,
the
or?
first couple of weeks, no. Because everything's March 17th when everything changed for me. All my jobs, my organize, and now people, you guys know me. I do
Okay, so you went into quarantine like as soon as you like heard about it, like before, like it was everybody was like forced to shut down. Gotcha. So everybody else hadn't quite caught up to the.
not yet. It's like maybe a week or so later, then
Okay.
LA shut down.
Yeah.
And everybody else started shutting down. But I was told about this thing, and because I worked with people and older people, I was like, well, I better like really take this seriously. And it scared me shitless, basically. And I was like, okay, James, you gotta get out of this and just take care of yourself, because I didn't want to go back down again. I already been down for a year. I just got back a year ago. Like, I don't want to be down again. So I didn't want to get sick, the virus.
Okay.
I was like, okay, hide. And I just went, oh, hi, Haywood. I went crazy. Because I was like, you and I used to always hug when we see each other. I'm a hugger. I'm a toucher. I'm a people person, as you know, also. It just felt so isolating that even when I have Bell's palsy, if I could get myself together with my half paralyzed face, I could still see somebody and
Mm-hmm.
touch them. This was like, don't touch anybody. A lot of my folks, my parents, they have aging parents, like we all do. It was just scary. So I
Yeah.
kind of went crazy, as I had no human touch at that point for like 68 days. That was strange. And I was like talking to myself. I was crying uncontrollably. I basically had an anxiety attack. called my therapist. I see a therapist, so my therapist, and I was like, I need help. And she's like, well, continue documenting it, share it with people. That's going to help you focus on something. And that's when I started to focus on, okay, I want to do interviews. I'm going to do it. So from end of March to about July, I was doing 5 interviews a day, 5 days a week, taking the weekends off.
Wow.
And a lot, but it kept me going. I stood up that
it's
day.
something to do. Yeah.
You just said it, like you said a little earlier. It was like, it gave me something to do. And all these folks were at home. Everybody was home. Everything is shut down. So I could book guests. But people were like, I have nothing else to do, so I'll do it.
Yeah, and everyone now suddenly knows how to use a webcam and a mic. When before they were like, "Oh, I don't know, it's too."
Exactly.
Now that everyone has to do it, it's like, oh look, it works totally fine. It's 2020.
Wow. And for me, because I was in the soap genre, myself, this guy named Alan Locker, we were the only 2 people at the time talking to all the soap stars and doing reunions and getting old stars, new stars, and we were putting out every day. We're the 2. We're friends, so we were always supporting each other. And then about 3 months in, People Magazine, who didn't care about the soaps for the past 30 years, suddenly were doing soap interviews, Entertainment Weekly, doing something like, where do you guys come from? And I said, oh, because now the pandemic is longer. They're just like, now it's on the bandwagon. They saw me and Alan, we were doing great stuff and getting the views, and everybody's coming in, and so. But that kept me going as far as it kept me going on a path. And then I left our former place of residence, AfterBuzz TV. I don't care. I talk to them. I left them, and after being there almost a little over 6 years, I was there. And then they basically shut down. I mean, they're dead, folks. Everybody, you don't care. You can say what you want. They're dead. Folks moving to Nashville and stuff to raise babies. It's dead. I said, I'm shady, I don't care. And then so I said, but that was the impetus for me to go, okay, I already have stuff on the side already outside of AfterBuzz. So now I'm gonna step up. And I said, I will be an online network. I will do it myself.
Yeah.
Screw that.
How
I'll do it myself. And I want to make some money. And I was like, and people were like, well, I need a place to go. And then my other place I was at called the After Party, they closed too. And so I was like, well, I was paying them to have my show on there. So people started saying, well, if I pay you to produce our show? Okay. And that kind of started the impetus for me to kind of go, okay, I'm going to create my own network. And I thought, I'll be a black man in power. Why? There's not that many of us running around like that doing that anyway. So I'll do it. I like producing. I like directing. I like being behind the scenes. I like managing. So I said, I'm going to do it. So I took my JLJ Media page and grew it into a network. That wasn't easy, of course. There's a lot of stuff that went on with that, but I'm still working it out. But I'm very proud of my first year. Almost the first year I've been doing this, and that kept me busy, and that helped me with my sanity. That was like I had something to look forward to work on, like you said earlier, and keep me going. And my garden, my famous garden, I go on my garden all the time. And that helps me too, because I don't suffer from depression, but I do get depressed. This is what you said. This is the strangest time period in my 52 years. I've never been before in my life.
I think also seasonally too, and I think for a lot of people also not interacting. There's a lot of things. Also, just uncertainty about the future. A big thing for me for a while. When you're working, you don't have time to think about what is life, what is your purpose and stuff. But when you have no job choices, and the world is rioting and protesting, and you're like, why are things the way that they are? It doesn't make sense. This is obviously not working, and sometimes you don't want to think like that. Sometimes
I want to ask you a question.
Sometimes
next year you'll be the big milestone birthday. Your first of many milestone birthdays, right? Next year, right?
I will be turning 30 next year. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's that the next year. So, but I was saying, okay, I was there once, obviously 20-some years ago. I was there once. But I'm saying that it's usually leading up. It's usually the last part of your 20s. You're figuring things out. You're working through them a little bit. You can't get to the next decade. This has been a strange year and a half. We're not. You can't be a regular guy, so to speak, because of work and pandemic and what else is going on. Um, do you have any optimism for your 30s at all? Do you think that? I mean, do you think? I mean, people tell me my 30s will be great. I mean, great. 30s will be great. But I'm like, how do you look at the future? That's the bigger question. It's like, how do you look at the future right now, or do you not?
Um, that's a great question, James. I'm not really. So people have told me often that I am a pessimist, which I have to disagree with. I classify myself as a realist. Um, it's not that I don't think that good things happen. It's that I know that sometimes they are not going to happen if you look at the facts. So as far as my optimism toward my 30s, I wouldn't say I'm optimistic as much as um, I know that I've made it this far and I didn't really expect to make it this far. And I know that I've learned a lot from mistakes that I've made and also successes that I've had. So I know that I am smart and you're making me pat myself in the back. I know that I am smart and talented. Uh, but there's also like, a motivation issue and stuff. And so I feel like if I can kickstart the motor, yeah, I should be fine. If I once I break that seal, like you said, of like that going into there and that mentally like, oh, I got to figure out what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm honestly more concerned about the future of the country and the economy, and especially as someone who has worked as a server for most of his adult life, that field is never going to be the same. Like restaurants will open up, but there's never going to be as many jobs. The service interaction is not going to be the same, not for a while. So there's a lot of uncertainty about the future. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that I'm optimistic, but I also wouldn't say that I'm negative. It's just like it is what it is. It's the world is going to keep spinning and I'm going to get older regardless of whether I mentally grow up or not. So, the
That's
rent
true.
don't stop, as my dad says.
It sure don't. It
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah.
But no, but also so we talk about him having depression. For folks who don't know what that is, because we're talking not regular. Oh, well, my God, my girlfriend broke up with me. Oh my God,
Yeah, I have
we're
like a
talking like this.
clinical, it's like a chemical imbalance in my brain, essentially, that I'm not getting in layman's terms, I'm not getting the right I'm not getting the right mixture, right? It's like if you were making lemonade and you put in, you know, too much lemon and not enough sugar, and like, oh, this is really sour. Like your brain is made up of different chemicals, right? And the different mixtures cause different things to happen, and sometimes you can have different chemical imbalances which can cause different things depending on where in the brain it is. um, and mine is depression. I'm can be kind of mood swingy sometimes. I kind of come up and down. um, I'm a very sensitive person. A lot of people think that I am not, because I intentionally put off a like hard shell, because I don't I once I expose myself, I'm very vulnerable, so I prefer not to expose myself to as many people as possible, um because then I don't get hurt, is kind of.
How do you choose? What is your criteria getting close to people?
um I mean, I kind of I feel like I'm a very good judge of character. Like I can get kind of a read on people pretty well. um but also I don't know, just over time, like as you like see the things that people do and the conversations that you have with them, I don't know, it takes me a while for me to trust someone, but when I know, you
Yeah.
just know. Like I'm very selective with the people that I consider my friends, but the people that I consider my friends are I consider very close. I don't like really. I'm very open, and sometimes that could be detrimental. Like I do struggle sometimes with um being too blunt or speaking to people in like a condescending tone. It's not intentional. But regardless, it's how I make people feel, so I try to be conscious of the way that I speak to people and the way that I strive still to be honest and direct, but in a way that's not confrontational or hurtful, as much as possible.
Well, you're a person. It's so funny that you picked this profession because you're a musician also, and you play music. You play stuff, but also you're hosting. So how does that even? I mean, is it because you're behind something and you're able to project? I mean, what is it? How does that work? Is it
Honestly, I didn't even really pick hosting as much as it just kind of happened.
okay?
I was
How did it happen?
working Well, I was working at a restaurant, and the person who ran our former establishment was a regular there, and I got to know them, and I served them frequently. Um, and basically, he convinced me to come over. Like I have like a theater background. I did theater in middle school and high school. I also did film in high school as well as band and basically everything except for go to class. And then when I got out of high school, I went to a couple different film schools. So most of my training is in like film and camera and like being behind the camera and stuff. I am comfortable being on camera because I've been on stage and stuff, and I don't have a
Yeah,
problem with that. Also, my dad is a musician and an audio engineer, so I grew up in this kind of space. It's very comfortable for me. Um, so I just kind of fell into it. The thing, honestly, the reason why I thought it would be a good idea to actually come and do it was I watch a lot of TV. I watch a lot of TV, and
I'll do it.
I'm a big nerd. So to be able to take that time that I spent watching TV and turn it into something productive was actually pretty cool to me. I learned a lot. Like hosting is different than other. It's just because you can be on camera doesn't mean that you can be a good host, especially if you're doing it by yourself versus in a group. That's been my biggest block, honestly, that I really need to work on is being able to do content by myself. I always feel like I need someone to bounce off of, um,
Okay.
because I am not a big talker, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. I'm
Yeah.
more of a thinker. I like to say few things and just like say what I mean. Um,
Makes
but
sense.
hosting was really good for me because I learned how to talk with a group of people on like a panel, and how to let other people express their opinions,
Yeah.
and also like the timing of when to interrupt and when to like when to keep the conversation going so there isn't silence and stuff. So it was a skill that I developed from there, um, that I liked. And again, I think with every artistic situation like that, the best thing to learn is connections. It's the people you meet, right? Like me meeting you and a bunch of other talented people that I've collaborated with. Um, that was the most important thing that I took away from him, because the hosting stuff, like it doesn't take, especially at one time I did 6 shows in a day. I was only working part time and I had a lot of
Hey,
free
I know that. I
time.
know
So
that one.
like, why not? And I was really enjoying, honestly, like when as a creative, when you're creating, you enjoy that, especially when you go from not creating at all to creating, even if it's reviewing some crap Netflix show on YouTube for 100 viewers. Like it's fun, and meeting
Yes.
people is fun, and it's an
Fun.
experience. So like making things is fun. So that and the connections was a good experience. And so going out of that, I wouldn't say that I'm kind of at a crossroads of where I'm not sure exactly where I want to go. The thing, like, I don't know if I necessarily want to be as a host as much as I do want to be a talking head. I have strong opinions about things, and I do like to express them and articulate them. And I also like to learn other people's opinions and learn facts and learn about things that I don't know about. So I'm trying to take those hosting skills and translate that to the live streaming experience. I'm trying to. I've actually watched you as you created your network and stuff and put your shows on, and I thought that was really cool. And that I kind of want to do a similar thing, not nearly on the scale that you want to do, but I want to incorporate some shows into my live stream that have kind of different content verticals, and then wrap that under an umbrella and like package that out as content and stuff. So thank you for the inspiration to do that. But I ultimately I just want to have opportunities to talk about the stuff that I'm passionate about, whether that's movies, video games, music, politics, science fiction, uh, bacon, anything.
You should do it. So you should do it. But I don't understand the whole thing. Some folks, they feel like they're better with another. Yes, a lot of times it's better with another person when you do shows, but sometimes it isn't either. Sometimes you have to find the chemistry. Where you're by yourself, you have to worry about chemistry, but then you're by yourself. There's pros and cons on both, right? And AfterBuzz was a great place for me because I was a host by myself. I came from radio, so it's like I did my own stuff with an engineer. We talk and stuff, but that taught me how to work with others on camera and how you write and timing and finding your personality in the group of 4 people and what does that mean and so I thought it was really good. Do you have a show you like doing the most at AfterBuzz?
I mean, that I did like doing the most? Is that the question?
That you really enjoy? You're like, I'm sure you enjoyed many. Like me, I did a lot of shows.
Like the show or like the panel?
Show.
I mean, Westworld is like my favorite show to talk about. So that was fun to do that every week, and like there's a lot of Easter eggs. That was the thing that I once I learned the hosting, the thing for me was only being selective about the shows that I hosted that were worth talking about, because I did a couple shows, like I did Silicon Valley, and there was definitely a lot of fun parts. And I did like the panel. It was a good group of guys. But you can only say like, oh man, this was really funny. Oh, this was really funny too. Like there isn't like a deep thing to decipher and talk about the moral aspects of, like there's not much for discussion. It's like, what do you think's gonna happen next? I don't know, something funny. Like,
right, I get it.
So shows like that, I did like feature on like Game of Thrones stuff. That was cool. I really like doing The Magicians was really good up until the second to last season, which was terrible.
Okay.
Man, it feels like so long ago. I really liked, my favorite thing at AfterBuzz honestly was not even an AfterBuzz show. It was doing the gaming show with Mark and Stacy and Patrick, our Inventory Full show.
Okay.
We did a weekly, like it was just a gaming news show. And that was fun. That was so much fun because I'm a big gamer, so being able to talk about that, and also we were such a diverse group of gamers too. Like, I think a lot of people, they just like group video games and just like this category when really it's like this giant genre. Like, so I think having us all be able to talk about different aspects of gaming and stuff and what we like, it was good, because there's definitely games that like I'm like, no, that's not for me. That Mark's like, oh, I love this. And then there's games I'm like, oh, I'm excited about this. And Mark is like, where did you even find this? So that was probably my favorite one. That answers your question.
Gaming is like so foreign to me. I'm like, where's Miss Pac-Man? I don't know what's going on. I mean, I just completely know what's going on. Where's my Atari 1600? So I would switch gears a little bit, and because I could do that, of course. What is it today? I've asked this of several other Black men. What does it mean to be a Black man these days to you?
What does it mean to be a black man, just like in general,
Yeah, that's
or
the
like
question. Kind of just
in
like,
America, or
what does
like
it mean to what does it mean to you? Like, what is that? When someone says you're a black man or a black man, a strong black man, what does that say to you?
um I don't know. That's a kind of a wide question.
It's on purpose. It's on
Uh,
purpose. Questions are all on purpose. They're all on purpose. I say things with meaning all the time. That's the point.
what's the question again?
Can you repeat that in a sentence, please? Sure.
Yeah.
What is being a black man mean to you these days?
What does being a black man mean to you these days? Um, stress. I mean, it's not like a new thing though, but
Right.
it means stress. It means people taking everything that you make that's really cool, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna take that."
You love it. Yes.
That, um, avoiding cops so you don't get killed. Um,
So I would say something. Adrian Eliza Houghton says, I'm here. Do you know her?
nope,
Hi. Okay, well, hi. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming in. I like the name.
I
So hi,
don't think
Adrian.
so.
She's
But
saying, I'm
hi,
here.
welcome.
So I'm here. She announced herself. She's here. So you go, girl. Welcome. I'm glad we're having a serious discussion right now about being black. No, like for example, for me, I'm an older black man. I mean, I might not look good. You know why, of course. Lots of water. That's right, and good genes. Um, but no, I did the ancestry DNA thing recently, and I come from a multicultural family anyway. My family is multiracial, biracial, multiracial. So by the DNA test, the DNA markers, I'm a third white. That was my big revelation that I got the markers of my white side of the family. And it was like mostly Western Europe and Scotland, and so I have several sides of my family where I know it comes from. From slaves on one side, direct white on the other side. I had, white grandfather in them. So it's really funny for me during this whole time period of racial unrest, which is well, it's been around for a long time. That's not anything new either. Um, I'm looking to you guys. I know for me, being a black man for me means trouble. It means trying to fight inner strength against the odds. Again, nothing new, but it just seems like we're much more on the offense these days. We defense these days. just
Um,
being ourselves, just trying to walk the streets. I mean, it feels more immediate to me. I feel like I'm always having to kind of show people that I am this in spite of being black, so to speak, or that I am this because I am black. Like I'm always having to find that way to not discount my blackness, so that people discount my blackness if I do something great or something not great.
hmm. Yeah, I mean, I have, a unique experience being biracial. But as you know, it's the one drop rule. So as long as you have any
Right?
black, you're just black.
Yes.
But given that I am, quote unquote, well spoken, and I don't
Yes.
use, AAV very much. I wear glasses, I'm fair skinned, I look like a nerd. I don't really have that experience of like, oh, here comes the threatening black guy. I've seen it. I have friends I've been around that experience it. If I'm in the group of black guys, like then yeah, it doesn't matter. Um, but I don't know. For me personally, I feel like because I live in LA, and like in North Hollywood where it's very diverse, um, I don't see it so much as a black thing. Like it definitely is, black people are being killed. Like it's definitely a black thing. But in my personal experience, it's more of like a class thing of just like the working class people, the brown people mostly, and then the business owners or the millionaires or the people with money that also live here in LA and stuff. And that's kind of the main thing that I worry about. I do keep my eyes out on the cops, and I always watch when they come by. There are certain things that I do as a black man. My thing, honestly, I occupy a lot of spaces that are predominantly white, or just I am one of maybe two black people in the room, or I am the black guy in the room. So I have that position where I sometimes it drives people crazy, but I am that guy that makes the black joke. Not all the time, but
Yeah.
fairly often. And it's not because like I think it's like the funniest thing in the world, or like I'm trying to make white people uncomfortable, but it's because I think that we have a responsibility to talk about things that make us uncomfortable and address racism and stuff like that. And I think ignoring it and not talking about it is part of the reason why, we're in the situation that we're in. So I never shy away from addressing things like that, especially if it's humorous, because when you make light of some of those situations, it can make it easier to actually talk about it.
And then you have a good point though, in what you're saying, because not all one black person's the same. Obviously, it does determine coloring, how you look, how you're dressed. That is something you're right. The experience may be different. I don't think I look threatening, but I've had rifles to my head as close as 3 years ago. So I mean, in LA, I mean, I've had the most racism in Los Angeles than anywhere else in the country. So for me, it's a little. I live in the hood. I live in Inglewood. I live down here. So which is changing also, uh,
Yeah.
and it's starting to change. And
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, I've been very fortunate. I grew up as a valley kid. I did live I never really lived in any rough spots. Sometimes I lived in the rougher spots of nice areas,
yes, yes,
honestly, because
yeah,
it's the valley.
yeah.
But I never really lived in anywhere that rough. I did bounce around to a couple different schools. I did have some time where I was going to Pacoima Middle School, where I had some friends. I made some friends there, that were into some stuff, and got kind of opened my eyes to another side of LA that I was not really experiencing. And then when I got into high school, obviously, even in the valley, it's LA, so there's your share of shady stuff going on. Um, yeah, I
You
don't
make,
know.
a, you,
Like
make,
as
but you make a point though. I'm in LA, so if you're not from here, folks, there's a line. The Valley is one place, LA proper is another, Orange County is another. Like it's very much a very line. And I know when I grew up, which was in the '70s, I was bused out to the Valley. I was part of busing. I mean, that was one of the desegregation. I was part of the last groups of that. It didn't work. I was bused out to Sherman Oaks Elementary School. The black kids all hung out in the same corner. The white kids hung out over there.
mm,
It totally busted, and it didn't work. Vice versa, they were busting to our schools. The white kids stayed in the corner, and it didn't work. But I remember some of my older sisters decided to stay out to the valley. They liked it out there. Went to Patrick Henry Junior High School, Grotto Hills High School. They stayed out there. I stayed in the city. My siblings, we decided to stay in the city, and have that experience. I grew up multiculturally in my family, my house. Like we traveled and stuff, but living in Inglewood was very interesting because back then
mm,
it was mostly black, gang infested. Then it was Mexican, Salvadorian. They came in. Everybody was fighting with each other. I grew up with gangs, the whole thing. But I was called vanilla because I spoke well, and I had white relatives, I wasn't a nerd, but I was one of the smart kids. And so I had that stuff. And I wasn't bullied or anything like that, but I was just made fun of by like, oh, there goes, there's James, he talks white, that kind of stuff. So my view, of course, is very different. But I used to go to the valley sometimes, and yeah, there are some shady parts of the valley. I mean, there's some parts that are not pretty at all, and I used to see them here and there. But again, our experience, of course, are just very different. I just remember the valley was somewhere else. I mean, living in LA is like you don't go to the valley very often. That's over there. You don't go to Orange
yeah,
County either. You don't go to Orange County. That's down there. The Orange
yeah.
Curtain.
I mean,
But
I have a similar opinion of like LA. Like I don't like to go downtown really. Like I go, maybe we'll cross the hill to go to Hollywood,
yes,
but other than that, like I'm
yeah.
not really trying to
You're a
do it.
Valley boy. You're a Valley boy. That's fine. You're a
I
Valley boy.
mean, and also I'll fight anybody that says the Valley is not part of LA, because it is part of LA County. So
Yes, it's part of LA County. That's all I want. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna fight you on my own show. I'm not gonna do it. I was gonna stay silent and say yes. but you are correct. It is part of LA County. You are
Right.
that part.
818, son.
I can't. We'll take it outside later. I just can't right now. I'm not going to argue with you about that, but it is. But you're right. It is part of LA County, so that part is correct. But it's very different than LA proper. It is. But then in LA, of course, we have. I mean, it's different here too. South of Wilshire is very different than north of Wilshire. I mean, it's all it's all very different. But yeah, but I know I bring this up because I do know online you are very vocal for kind of political stuff too, but also for Black rights. You are very vocal about that online. That's what I was asking. Kind of like you're getting close to 30. You're a young Black man in America. I mean, you are biracial. But I just wonder what that means for you. I mean, for me, I'm kind of watching you guys to see what I saw. A bunch of your generation do some great things last year, and I made watch those. Were great. But for me, it's kind of like, well, I've been here for so long, and I've always been fighting. But it's kind of like I'm waiting to see if you guys. It's just your world more than mine, so I'm going to see what you guys do.
The thing for me is that I haven't really been. I wasn't really into politics like before last year. Like I was, especially when the more recent years, I was aware of the news. I knew it was going on, but I wasn't really actively engaged because I really didn't like the Democratic Party, from what I had learned about America. And I, was definitely not messing with the Republicans. So I just kind of like, the whole system is BS. Like there's no point, screw it kind of. Does my teenage nihilism has kind of, from then is just kind of carried on, like whatever. Like I voted, but like it's like whatever, I'm voting because my parents vote Democratic, so I vote Democratic, kind of a thing. So last year, when in like May, June, when the protests were going on, I was trying to watch. There was tons of people live streaming and clips being uploaded to Twitter and stuff, and I'm trying to watch through the timeline of like see what's going on. And I don't remember exactly how I found it, but I was on Twitch or something, and I found this guy named Hassan Piker. He used to be a news correspondent for TYT, the Young Turks, and now he streams on Twitch, and he does a lot of political coverage. And during that, he was sifting through the videos, talking about it. And this is a guy who has been a progressive and a leftist for years, and knows his stuff when he's talking about statistics about police brutality and all these murders and things of that situation. So it really helped me kind of parse through everything that was going on, especially like by the time May hit. I had not been working March, most of March, all of April, were like seeing like what's really going on and like how crazy things are going. Now these protests are happening after George Floyd, and there's just a lot of uncertainty. And so it was comforting to hear someone that was saying things that I was like, okay, yes, this is right. Like, so because you watch the news coverage of it and it's like they play the same clip, like look at these looters, and it's like, oh, and then like your parents or your friend's parents or someone, or like your friend who's not online, who only actually watches like MSNBC or whatever, is like, oh, those damn rioters, blah 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 blah. Like, so watching all this going on, listening to this guy, I something clicked and I was like, okay, I didn't really know about leftism, right? Especially as an American, like they don't really teach you about that. You just assume that there's right and there's left, and the Democrats are the left, and that's left. But if you really look at like a political compass and ideologies, our Democratic Party is really more center right leaning than anything anywhere near actually political left. So as he introduced me to this, I've been watching his coverage almost daily now. But I've also expanded now to, I watch, there's a great show called The Majority Report. There's a great writer I just subscribed to The Intercept. Ryan Grimm writes over there. So I've now started consuming all of this news media and different political opinions and stuff. And it has really radicalized me to like this leftism idea of progressiveness. Like it makes sense to me. I am in the process. It's kind of a dense read, but I'm reading Das Kapital by Karl Marx because it's frustrating, as you learn more about America and the things that they don't teach us, or how they misconstrue things, or like there's just so much that just doesn't add up and doesn't make sense. And just the frustration I have that, like, when I say communism or Marxism, like my friends who haven't, educated themselves, like, tense up. It's like a bad, dirty word, but like it's not bad. That's literal propaganda. And so this is the part of where I'm at, of trying to not, I'm trying to tone down a little bit so that I can, like, reach people. um this is where the skill of, like, learning to listen to people and the hosting and the panel is good, because I have had discussions with people that have discussions of good faith, even if they're on polar opposites. I'm willing to at least hear them out and understand their opinion and their perspective, even if at the end of the day we disagree. It's like the shouting matches and the yelling where, like, people don't want to have a discussion, they just want to say their point, or they just want to be right. Like, I'm like, okay, cool, you can have fun. I don't need to waste my time with that. But for me, I see the issue as more of a class issue. I feel like the identity politics and the race thing is, quite honestly, a diversion. Um, if you are the bourgeoisie leading class and you are outnumbered by the working class, the proletariat, the easiest way to control them is you limit their education, right? You massage the masses with uh, things to keep them busy, TV, consumerism, shopping, whatever, etc. Right? You limit their education. Uh, you like all of these things that are implemented into the way that America has kind of perpetuated. And on top of all of that is this idea that, like, I'm not saying racism isn't a thing. It definitely is a thing. White supremacy is a thing we need to get rid of. Black people are um, unequally persecuted. Like, it's but the after we get to that, the root issue is then the classism, because this is a way, this division of the races, this idea of white supremacy is a way for them to divide the working class, because a lot of these people that are Republicans, that are diehard Trump fans, are working class people that would benefit from socialism, from social safety nets that would give them loans, give them basic income, give them health care, you know? And the only thing that's going to cost them is taxing the rich, the business owners, which is not them. It's not them, but they have in their mind that my mom and pop, business that I own is going to be destroyed because they're going to raise taxes on billionaires. Like, no, that's not how it works. We have this twisted idea that we're all just billionaires in waiting. But the idea is billionaires should not exist. Anybody who is a billionaire has profited off of stealing money, wage theft, exploitation, numerous things that are morally reprehensible, not to mention, in most cases, probably illegal, or at least legal loopholes. Um, there's just a lot wrong with the world in terms of these things. And I feel like the race thing is kind of a distraction. Not that it's not important. We need to address police violence, but when we look at police violence, like, police kill a lot of white people too. Not as many proportionately to the amount of size that they are, but they can be, I when the cops were beating up the rioters at the Capitol, I was not happy to see them being beat up, even though they weren't getting it nearly as bad as the black protesters were. I'm not going, hey, hit them harder, hit them like us. You better shoot them. Like, no, I'm not. I'm not saying that. I don't want them to be brutal to them. I want them to be nice to everyone. I want So for me, it's about bringing that solidarity and helping people understand. Um, I don't know. The thing is, white privilege is inherently tied to our capitalist system. Um, but the reason why I say that it's a distraction is when we have things like Kamala Harris, for example. I think it's fantastic that we can have a example for young women to see that it's possible to be a vice president. Um, But in my personal opinion, as an imperial, you know, militaristic, neo-fascist country that we are, uh, having a black imperialist is still an imperialist. You know, it's like when Obama was dropping bombs on Yemen, it's still bad. Just because it's a black person pushing the button doesn't change that. It's still capitalism. We're still, you know, profiting off of prison labor, and we're still keeping kids in cages in ICE, right? So the race thing, it is important. There is discrimination that needs to be addressed, but that's part of the larger issue of government corruption being cleaned up, and frankly, like, moving further left towards these progressive policies that actually help the people. You know, we have some of the one of the highest GDPs. I don't remember exactly what we're ranked at, but for comparable nations, they have much better standard of living through healthcare, through welfare systems. Like, it's just absurd for us to be in America, the greatest country on earth, and have the amount of like homeless people that we do, and not be able to provide healthcare, and have this COVID crisis that we've had. Like, you know, there's just something that's not working, and I'm really hoping to advocate for, you know, the change of that. And I do think that, you know, a lot of things have changed. You know, the one thing about Trump is he made a lot of people pay attention, and I am mildly concerned that with Joe Biden and him preaching unity and this kind of back to normal kind of a thing, a lot of people are going to go, okay, cool, well, I don't have to pay attention anymore. Meanwhile, you know, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris can continue to do corporate things. You know, like the him, he signs the bill, right, to shut down private prisons under federal, which is good, except for that federal private prisons is a very, very small number. State private prisons and county prisons are the real problem. And the other thing that he has oversight over, which he could actually do, is ICE detention prisons and those private facilities. Like, that's where the real profit is private facilities that are rented by ICE. But he didn't do anything about that. So it's that kind of thing of like, see, look, we're doing something nice. Yay, see, we're being progressive. And like, if I, as a leftist, go on Twitter and say, this isn't enough, you need to do more, it's like, why can't you just be happy? Why can't you, you know, just accept what we got? Blah, 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 blah. At least he's not Trump. So that's where I'm at.
So you have no opinion at all?
Yeah, I could care less.
I care less what's going on in the world. No, I mean, I like listening to people your generation to hear what they think, because even if it's different than my thoughts, or slightly different, I think it's very interesting to hear where you guys are coming from, how you guys view things. Because I've talked to many people in their 30s and 20s and 30s that they see it differently than I do. I mean, they just see it very differently than I do, and it's not even seeing it wrong. It's just they're seeing it differently than I do. And I go, that's interesting. You see it that way, and maybe for you guys it is that way. Like, I mean, I see it differently, but like, maybe for you and maybe for your generation, it really is. That issue is the issue, and not.
I definitely can't say that I speak for my generation.
I know. But
I definitely.
I'm just saying that I talk to many people in your generation, and you guys are kind of mirroring each other. Maybe the people I have around me, it may just be that kind of thing, but I'm just saying that you guys are saying.
I'm definitely more radical than a lot of my friends. But that's also like why, you know, I share the stuff that I share, because I know that they're not going to see those things, and they're not going to hear those things other places. And there's a few times where I've had some conversations with people that, you know, maybe I changed their mind, maybe I didn't, but we had an exchange of information. And I also have had people actually say like, hey, I appreciate you sharing that stuff, like that I learned from that. And that's really like, that's what I'm going for, you know, like I'm not really trying to necessarily change anyone's mind as much as for the people that are looking to learn, they're looking for information, I want to help them kind of get that, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm just saying, for me, I'd say as this connection thing, for me, it's very interesting because I get to hear people's point of views that of the next generations after me, and I'm like, oh, okay, so they see it that way. So there's some things in the things I'm hearing that I go, okay, this is what their real issue is for them. And since I know this is it was news for me. Like, oh, I think this way, okay, and I have my own views, of course, on things, and my generation. I don't speak for my generation either, all but we kind of we see some of the similar things. Again, it could be the crowd you hang out with or who you call into your life. But I find it interesting because I go, okay, I never thought of it that way. I mean, I fully agree, but that could be your reality. That I mean, it doesn't say mine could be my reality, and yours could be your reality at the same time.
Well, so this is where it might get a little tenuous. There's only one reality. We have our perspective on that reality, right? But there is only one reality. The way that I try to explain it, how I see it, like visually, because I'm a visual person, is it's like reality is like a Rubik's cube, right?
Okay.
And we're all standing at different sides of the Rubik's cube. So from my side, reality is, these colors, but on your side, it's different colors.
So we're saying the same, but we're saying the same
but
thing.
We're both right.
But that's why I just yes.
But I'm saying we're both right, but with the caveat that the reality is not malleable. It's just I can't see your perspective, so I can learn from your perspective. But either way, what the reality is. Does that make sense?
No. Here's the thing. So I was saying, see, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm in a way. So basically, you said what I just said, but in a Rubik's cube in a visual way, that we both are both our realities can be right because it's our reality. And but you're saying that there's only one reality. I don't agree with that. I don't think there's never. It's almost like that thing saying, there's that saying, there's three sides to every story. Your side, the truth. Now that can happen in some cases. That is true. If this I dropped this cup, that's a reality. You saw it, I saw it, the cup was dropped. But someone goes, I think James threw it down, and then someone else goes, well, no, it slipped out of James's hand. That's two different realities. But no, that's actually the truth is it dropped out of my hand. If you all saw it, I didn't. If I threw it, I mean, I think that's different. But I think in some cases,
you don't believe in objective truth.
Objective truth. So explain to me what that means.
I mean, like gravity exists, the world is round, the sky is blue.
Those to me, okay. So yes, those are reality. I'm saying right. those are right. I believe in that stuff. Yes.
Okay, but also, so like Joe Biden won the election, right? That's reality.
Yes.
Yeah. So some people would say like, oh, that's not reality, but that is. So following that train of thought, if I were to say to you that your American education that you received was propaganda,
okay,
would you say that that's reality?
No.
Okay. But it is.
No, but it's your reality. It's your
but it is. No, but see,
how can you tell me? You don't know what education I had. So how can you tell me my education was propaganda?
Did you grow up in America?
Yes, I grew up in America.
Okay, then you had okay. So let me ask you something.
Yeah.
If you grew up in Russia, do you think that you would have different opinions on communism or capitalism or the Western culture or the Middle East or things of that nature that you have as an American?
Possibly. Any country you live in, yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. So in the same way, the way that you grew up in America, specifically as as in your education, especially like with things like history, what's chosen to teach, what's to teach.
I know all that. I'm just saying.
Right. But that is propaganda. Also, things like TV, movies, stuff like this. A lot of this stuff is like when people hear the word propaganda, they think it has to be big, blatant, like big red letters, but that's not how it works.
You're talking to somebody who knows this stuff. I mean, I grew up in a time period that was way more racist than you did. So I get that part. I'm just saying that after high school, you don't know what my education was after that. So when you say education, not necessarily school education either, in reality. You're going to school education. Yes, I know they didn't. Of course, they said we came and saved the Indians. I mean, I know it's all propaganda.
Yeah.
Well, you say the word education,
but I said your American education is what I said. Yeah, which implies your not all of the things that you learn in your life. Me learning cursory things now that I'm in my late 20s about things that actually happened that I didn't learn in school, I wouldn't consider that as part of my American education. That's what I'm saying. American education is like the stuff that they teach you in school, in your K through 12. That's what I'm talking about. Later, when you get older, you can go to college and you can read a real book or have a real professor who goes, no, this is what actually happened. Or like, here's some stuff they didn't teach you. Like,
see, but here's the thing. So you see what you said.
That's different.
I read it as
okay.
full.
Yeah. So I should be more clear. Your K through 12 traditional, in most cases for a lot of people, public schooling.
Yeah. So I agree. So I agree with you, Dave. I do agree with you on that. Yes.
But also movies, TV.
Black man in America. I know this. Black gay man in America. I know how this. I know all that stuff. I mean, I know.
So these things are going to color your perspective. This is a discussion I have with my dad that we disagree on because he's
my age, and he's about my age probably.
Right. Or... He grew up, and also even with my mom, like, I don't think that you guys will ever be as radical as we are in terms of the fight against like capitalism and stuff like that, and also, and frankly, being anti-American and anti-imperialist. Just because of like, and I hate the word propaganda. I wish there was another word I could use because it sounds so heavy and harsh. But like, it's like rose-colored glasses. Like there's certain things that you guys can't see just because like your mind is just not going to be changed after a certain
first of all, I disagree with
amount of time.
But number two, you can't blanket all of us the same thing because
I mean, I'm saying generally.
Let me finish my sentence. Mr. Nate Miller. I love this. First of all, I love this. Let me get my sentence. I also have a whole sexual orientation thing that's different. So my lens is very different.
Yeah, you have a unique experience.
My peers of my same age group. So, and I came up at the age of 8. So I used to, I was very radical and stuff back then. I tried to act up and everything. So I'm like, that was a whole. So there's, and we're fighting in our own community right now too about that because we've been through one pandemic already, and the government didn't give us shit.
Yeah, you had a unique experience, and especially too being gay is kind of like a pipeline right into progressivism, just because because you've been oppressed, and that's one of the things that progressivism is about, is equality for everyone, especially gay, transgender, bi, questioning, all that stuff. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense that you have. I don't mean to generalize, but I'm doing a wide swath generalization of the older generation in my experience that I've been able to interact with. I just feel like when I say like, America is the bad guy, like they're like, maybe, like if we're being honest, I genuinely, truly do not believe America as we know it now is like fixable. I think it needs to be not like destroyed, but like, like rebuilt, or something, like restructured. Like it needs we got to really move away from this free market capitalism, because people are just, the rich are just getting richer. Like, how much money Elon Musk made last year? He's now more rich than Jeff Bezos. Like, well, he's got African slaves, in Africa mining for him, and he's talking about, don't worry, when we get to the moon, you don't have to pay for it. I'll pay for you guys to go, and then when you get there to the moon or to Mars or wherever, you can just work for me to pay off your loan. So he's like gonna have indentured servitude already. Like,
I'll tell you something. So I got in trouble last year because I did a lot of because I couldn't go out and do the protesting just because just health wise I couldn't do that. So I did a lot of different shows, and I talked about racial gaslighting. I talked about all kinds of things that go on, and I got in trouble. People just feel like, that's not true, James. I'm like, what are you talking about? And all this stuff. And my again, I'm going by my experience. I told you this is my experience, and it's something I've gone through myself. There are a lot of things that go on out there that I would say that I can't look for anybody to save me. I know everybody's like saying, well, if they just give us the power, we'll be fine. And I kept saying, no, we can't do that. It's almost like you saying destroy. I'm not asking for destroying things, but I'm kind of like, we need to just take things at this point and just start demanding stuff, just taking it ourselves or making it ourselves, because again, white folks are not going to give it to us. I mean, they're going to give it power. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Okay, but this is where we get into the real radical talk of like, you how do you take things?
Well, no, I'm just saying. But I'm just saying that we can't. People are saying like if they just do this, we'll be okay. I feel like it's not that easy. It's not that simplistic.
I mean, so you have there's kind of two schools of thought, right? Is there's well, maybe not two schools of thought, but on that scale of progressivism, there's like the fully radical Marxist Leninists, we need to throw over, and then when you get over closer to where we are now, is where you have like Bernie Sanders and AOC, like the social democrats who feel like we can still kind of save capitalism. We just need like a social democracy in place, which has more regulations. And the reality is that outside of some grand violent civil war coup or something, which I don't want to happen, to be honest,
I don't want that either.
Nothing is going to change very quickly. It's much more likely that we will get slow incremental change, which I'm always going to advocate for more, because I have an issue with incremental change because people get hurt in the interim. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Like it's like the prison thing. Like, it's good that Biden shut down some of those federal prisons, but he didn't immediately shut down ICE. And so it's still a bad thing. It's the way I see it, So like sometimes when you do these half measures, they can hurt almost more than just going all the way.
I understand that. Actually, I agree with you on that. I actually understand that. I agree with you on that.
So I don't know. It's tough. I think the biggest thing, honestly, is education, because like it's just getting people to kind of have the light bulb go off, to kind of want to learn more, because as I have these,
how do you stop people from feeling hopeless? That's my big question. Is like they just feel like they say fuck it, basically. Just like, I'm not going to be bothered because it'll never change.
That's not for me. There's
exactly. I'm just saying that I agree. I agree with you. Education. I mean, I'm agree with you that should be the thing. But a lot of folks like, never mind. It's not going to happen. Like, whoever's in power doesn't matter. I mean, I heard that so much. They feel helpless. So they're like, why even try? I keep saying no. Go educate.
So that's where the memes and the agitprop come in.
Yes.
Where you for people that don't care, my peers that are not politically engaged, right? You get and it's easier. The pandemic, like, it's a terrible thing that a lot of people died and it ruined businesses and all this shit, but it also gave people time to sit around and think about their life and think about their government and stuff. And that's why we had those protests. And I think a lot of people, that stuff, even though we have a short attention span and things like go away, I think it's still going to be on people's mind. And I think that is what is going to lead us to, some type of actual change.
I hope so. I mean, I like seeing the protest. I thought, wow, this is great that people are saying they're done. I mean, I liked when the women were doing it. I loved when they were doing it. And back in the day when the gays were doing it for gay marriage, I love when people decide to kind of, that's my old school ways. I was a protester when I was younger. So I loved that. And I did feel bad I couldn't go out this time and participate because of health reasons. So I decided to have people on my shows, and we spoke out and we did topics. I spoke wherever I could, just on my feelings. Not saying, again, I'm not the voice of Black America and like that, but I'm just like, I was just kind of like, just giving people just other ways to think. I mean, that's what we're doing here. We're connecting other ways to think.
Yeah, I mean, exchange of ideas is always good. You always, as long as you're actually, coming, like I said, coming in conversation with good faith, you can walk away, learning something, even if you disagree. Like, one thing that when I'm watching Hassan's coverage of the news, we watch a lot of Fox News clips. We watch a lot of OAN clips, like, it's not just an echo chamber of only watch leftist progressive stuff. You watch the opposition stuff. Sometimes it's to laugh at them, but sometimes it's also to see what they're doing, what they're thinking, what they're moving. I highly suggest checking out the Ronald Reagan documentary on Showtime.
I heard
that I work with got to co-produce that. And man, I knew that Ronald Reagan was the snake, but I didn't know, like, honestly, Ronald Reagan, like, our country's been fucked because, this is not our land. We stole it and we're still on stolen land and all of that terrible stuff and the racism and the slavery and the capitalism. But really, this acceleration of conservatism that we've seen and Trump, like, Reagan is like where our country went really right. Like,
I was there. I know. I was there. I know.
But even worse than, I mean, as I'm sure you also know, is like with the way politics and these things work, like, yeah, some things change right away, but a lot of things you sign this bill, you change this thing, right? And then like 10 years later,
Yeah.
now this thing is starting to really take effect.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So a lot of that Reaganomics stuff, not only just the economy stuff, but also the cult of personality and the making conservatism like mainstream and tying that into this nationalism. Like there's a lot of stuff there that I talked to my contemporaries about, and they were like, "Oh, I don't know, Ronald Reagan. You know, I went to the memorial."
I was protesting against him at that time because he wouldn't even say the word AIDS until 1987, and I had like 10 friends die in a week that up to that point. I mean, it was just crazy talk, and it was like
I didn't even know that he. I mean, I knew that he was like governor of California for a time, but I didn't know that he was the governor when the riots were going on and all that stuff
right.
with the
Mm-hmm.
cop. I saw that in the documentary, and I was like,
My father
oh,
was there. He was in
that's
Watts.
the
They
thing,
were
man.
there. Yeah, they were there.
I'm saying education is the answer. The only way
I agree with you on that too. Education
yeah,
is
the only way that these conservatives and these alt-right people are able to sway these people to believe these things that are actively against their own interest is because they don't know any better. And it's because of failure of the American education system. It's a failure of what is the mainstream media. I hate to sound like that, but like, it is actually like CNN and MSNBC. If your only news sources are stuff that are cable news channels, like you gotta diversify your portfolio, my brother. You gotta find some farther left progressive news sources, find some far right progressive news or alternative news sources, and read some alternative facts and and then formulate your own opinion. And it's just this whole QAnon thing, and like
I agree with you on that. I
could
do.
go on and on and on. So I'm gonna.
I woke up sleepy Nate. All of a sudden, he woke up.
This is something I'm very passionate about, and also I think it's very serious, and I think a lot of people just don't take it seriously, and yeah. And that's
I love this. So I love this. I'm not afraid of nobody. I love this kind of stuff. That's fine. Because we are. I mean, we live here, and this is a place that we chose to stay. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I love to live in a place where I can like fully live here and be free to live how I want to and do what I want. And I want all of us to have that. I want us to be able to smile and whatever. And it's just, and every day it's a little tougher, and it is serious. And I want to get better. So when I go, my kids and my grandkids can live in a world and not go through. I was listening to Marvin Gaye's album. I'm a huge, I'm a musician myself. I was listening to What's Going On. That album's over 40-something years old, and it's still relevant today. That's how sad.
What's your favorite Marvin Gaye album?
That's my favorite.
Here, My Dear is.
So okay, now we're gonna switch gears for a second, folks. I'm a music person, of course. So okay, that album, because I knew the history of why he did the album. To get out of the contract and give homegirl some money for the divorce. I got into it recently, last couple of years. I bought it on vinyl. I have a vinyl player, of course, and I started playing it. I'm like, this actually is a mini masterpiece. This album is really good. Like, I wrote it off. I wrote it off because of the history stuff. But I really did listen to it now that I'm a musician myself and I write songs. I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually the different suites on the album. It's really good. I thought I was very impressed. These weren't just throwaway songs.
No,
not at all. No, he didn't put as much effort as he would probably maybe do other albums.
Right? Yeah, it wasn't as like polished, but they were real songs. He was really spitting. He had some stuff to say for sure.
Yes, he did. He was a little salty and everything in there, but it was. But music, one other thing I actually do. But yeah, that is something that I thought was wonderful. I said I got into it later because I'm a person I give chance for things, and I'll give a second listen or third listen, and I was like, oh, okay, that album's not that bad. But What's Going On is my favorite album, of course. I just think it's just so, because he wanted to break away from that Motown cutesiness. He and Stevie Wonder both were trying to do these albums that were, again, sonically beautiful and different. But to me, they show black men in different lights. I mean, it's like they show them. Yeah, I'm a big Gil Scott-Heron fan. I'm a person who grew up with Ryan Jackson. I modeled my career after him. I do my spoken set to music is what I do. I mean, it's just I like when people have something to say, but then also the music's beautiful. Also, the music goes with the song, and I don't mind some cutesy music. I like the Spice Girls, and I was all about that too at one point. But I like deep music. I always have, and I mean whether it's folk music, rap, anything. And I was here for all of it. Look, I was born at the right time. I got to experience all of it. Many of it when it was birthed. And there's something about it that just speaks to my soul and did save me a lot of times. Just getting through high school or the college years or my 20s. These
Yeah.
albums saved my life. I mean, they helped me get through.
Yeah, music is invaluable. So I want to answer a question you asked. I couldn't answer before. What I would say to make people be optimistic about the future.
Okay.
The one time last year where I did really feel optimistic was when one of the couple times I went to a protest, the big one in Hollywood. There was just so many people, and everybody was wearing a mask. Everybody was being nice and polite, getting out of the way. Um, people were walking around with hand sanitizer, offering it to people. Offering face shields to people. People were walking with little carts carrying things for snacks. Hey, you guys want some snacks? Giving out snacks. Like, to see all of these people, a lot of young people, some older people too, but a lot of young people out here being kind, in the middle of a pandemic. Everyone's wearing masks. Everyone's like, like, I was like, wow, like this is where I have some hope. Like, it's not going to be overnight. We still have a long road to go. But the younger generation, my main hypothesis, like I've said about the education thing, is it's the internet really is what is the root. Because as bad as the internet is with social media and other things that are on the internet, the most important thing about the internet is the access to information. And that is why we kind of have had this awakening. And also, as we've seen, especially in other parts of the world that aren't necessarily as liberal developed, and being able to share that information with each other and find these records and find sources for things, read about stuff that they didn't teach us in school. That is really, I think, is when it's going to open people's eyes and, cause real change in the future.
I hope so. I mean, I do. I'm usually an optimistic person in general. I'm always smiling and everything, and I know how life can be, and I know how life can be. But I always am hoping the future will be better. I mean, I feel like if you don't have hope, then why bother? I mean, and why even exist in some level? I mean, you should always fight towards that hope, or fight to get to some hope, or help people get some hope. I mean, I try to do that when I can. I try to mentor a lot of people in the business. I try to do something to help the community, the village. I'm all about the village. And you're part of my village, everybody's part of my village. Again, I have friends who are Republicans, Black Republicans I talk to. And then people are like, how can you talk to them? A lot of times we actually find a common ground somewhere. It's usually we do. We've had the things we don't agree on, but there are things we actually do agree on. I'm not far left. I mean, I'm kind of a liberal, I guess, by terms of terms. I hate labels.
Dirty lib.
But the lib, I hate labels. But I'm just like, I'm more of a center. I'm more in the center somewhere. I'm more of an independent kind of person. But
What are you? Why what are you more conservative about, like economics or
a little bit? I mean, I think again, it is my generation. There's just certain things I just don't. I'm just not as free about. I'm not against it. I mean, I mean, everybody's rights, but I don't. There's just certain things that I find that I'm not super left. I mean, I'm just not. I don't agree with everything I hear. I feel like I'm a mild mannered older guy at this point who just only wants a few things. That's all I really want, and that's it. But I know I have friends who are very, very, very right, who are very much no abortion, no this, no that, no this, and I have friends who are very left, who can't see anything in the middle somewhere. I just feel like I mean, the thing how I look at things, I look at bills and things like, oh, okay, well that could work, that couldn't work. I mean, I do believe in like death penalty. I do believe there's certain things I do believe in that I know a lot of left folks don't believe.
You're
in.
pro death penalty?
I am.
Oh man! All right. Well,
as a person who's a victim of a violent crime several times, yes, I am.
But killing. Okay.
You're not gonna convince me anyway.
First of all, if we have a discussion, I'm not trying to convince you.
Okay.
You express your opinion. I express my opinion. I may present some facts to you. I may share my opinion to you. You can not change your mind. I'm totally fine with that.
Yes. Go ahead.
But this is a whole nother discussion, which I would love to have. I don't want to dive into this because we could be here all night talking about
Yes.
this and stuff. But I would like to pick your brain about why I feel as though you are probably more left than you think you are. But I don't know. I would be curious to pick your brain and see what you think, just to kind of get your opinion and your perspective, because I think there's a lot of value, and you, like you said, you've lived a long life and experienced a lot of things, and I haven't experienced those things or lived as long a life, and I think I could value, even if we end up disagreeing on things, learning from you and getting your perspective, I think is valuable.
Well, no, I mean, my thing is, and we should just have to come on another time, do another time, and start talking like this. But and I love this discussion. But I love this. But I'm just saying that I know that I've seen a lot of things have happened. I mean, this also goes back to what we were saying before about different experiences in being black, and what that was my original question to you. And that informed, and I agree with you this way, it informs what you see. It informs how you walk, what you see, and how you feel. And again, you know, both you dare through therapy. I mean, I'm actually way less militant in some ways and way more militant in other ways. Does that make any sense? That when I was younger, when folks say, I don't think if he was black, I didn't mind that so much. I felt like I was being, but then later I was like, that's offensive. Why wouldn't you think, well, it doesn't matter if you think I'm black or not. And now I got more militant in that way. So I know that my life, just going through life, you start going through experience, and you start, and your view starts to shift and change. Some core things stay the same, I think. I'm still thinking some of the same things I did when I was your age or even younger. They kind of haven't changed, but there are other things that I'm like, oh, I've seen this. I've done my research. I did my stuff. And I think that's the problem I think that's happening right now. I have a lot of friends who I love to death, and I'm still friends with them. I don't disown people like that because we have a different view. But it seems like a lot of, I know I learned something, so I'm going to share it with you, which is fine. But you can't tell me this is the difference. And I was like, well, you saw that. Maybe I don't feel the same way that you do about that. Maybe I don't feel as passionate about that as you do.
Yeah.
And I think
and my only thing that I have to say, because unfortunately this is the world that we live in, I am totally for people having different opinions and different perspectives. The part where I have to draw a hard line is disputing facts. And like, when you have a conversation with someone and they say something and you go, actually, that's not true, and you present them with facts and they go, well, I don't believe that, or that's from CNBC, that's a lie, or that's from Wikipedia, anybody can edit that. Like, and no, like, some things are facts. You don't have to like it. You can have an opinion.
I agree with you on that.
Have an opinion about it. But yeah, so I just want to jump in with the caveat. Otherwise, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Actually, I agree with you. I'm saying it goes back to what I was saying about when I have a cup in my hand and it falls out. That's a fact. When someone says, "No, I think James threw it down," that's what I'm saying. So I'm with you on that. I'm like, if there's a fact, if you present me with a certain fact, like saying that Joe Biden, well, I'll go back to Clinton. He had sex with that chick, or whatever. Whatever. That was a fact.
And oral sex.
That's still sex, right? I can't remember. It's been so long.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
He lied. I mean, that's a fact. He lied. Yeah, but I can't so I agree with you. There are certain things you're like that.
Presidents lied.
I know. Is that crazy? I know. Is that crazy? I know.
James, I'm on the all U.S. presidents are war criminals train. Obama too. He can go. I don't care.
I won't go do all that, but I will say that my father.
That's where for me it's difficult. That's why, to be honest, like that's why the identity politics stuff is difficult, because when people then you start to get into like the black capitalism stuff. Like, look, you think Beyonce gives a fuck about us? You think Jay-Z gives a fuck about us? No, we're just poor people. Doesn't matter if you're poor black or you're poor white. The real divide is class. Money is what matters. Race doesn't really matter. Well, you can the White House can be all full of black people, entirely all black people. Capitalism will still exist. There will still be I got trouble put into the system.
So, Nate, I agree with you. I'm saying in Hollywood, I've said for years that Nate, I said for years, it's not racism in Hollywood. The color is green. I've said that for years. Yeah. If they think we can make money as a black comedy, they'll do 10 black comedies to make sure. You know what I mean. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not saying again like you. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist. I've had it happen to me, obviously in Hollywood. But I said the color in Hollywood is green. That's the color. It's like, do you guys understand this? I mean, like, when a girl's film does well, you see all of a sudden everybody's like, "Oh my god, we gotta get 10 of these out there." But like, they don't care. I mean, you could be Aborigine, you could be angry, yellow, purple, whatever. They don't even care. They see the green. They want a sure thing. So I kind of agree with that. I agree that the money and class are a big thing, obviously, and everywhere, not just in America, everywhere. It's I mean, it's class, but and like you said, you agree that there is racism obviously in there. But I think, like I said, in Hollywood especially, it's green. That's the color. That's what they see first.
Racism is a symptom. Capitalism is the problem, right? We have racism as a symptom of. It's really simple. Like you look at the 13th Amendment, right? It's basically they got rid of slavery and then they just made a way to make indentured slaves that are they're technically not slaves, but they're basically slaves. So now you have a way to create this working class for you, which you can exploit as capitalists. So you can constantly increase your profit margins because it's all about growth. You can never stagnate. You have to keep growing. There is no limit. So you have to keep that supply of workers, so you have to persecute a certain group of people. Oh, look, black people who have historically been persecuted in this country and the world. That's pretty easy. Let's do that. Oh, what do black people like to do? Let's make that illegal. Let's create a system of broken homes so that there is a whole generation of crime. Oh, by the way, as we're destabilizing other socialist countries that are doing good because it'll make us look bad as capitalists if they do good, let's also at the same time do that while injecting crack into the black community so that we can keep our prisons going, so that we can keep making money to pump into our military funding, so we can keep destabilizing the entire world, because all we are is a big dick with a nuke. Like, America is the bad guy. Like, it's like I took my helmet off one day, stormtroopers like, oh shit, is the Empire the bad guy?
Now, that's another story too, because everybody's upset that Finn got the shaft off. So it's another story. Because you and I still got to talk Star Wars. We're going to talk about that. So I did a whole thing on that the other day about what they did to John Boy, and he and John Boyega said something too about it. So that's another story. So you said a Stormtrooper reference. I'm going to go there, obviously. So yes, there's a lot of stuff, folks. And so we're gonna end it here because we could literally go on forever, obviously.
Yeah, we have to stop.
I woke up Nate. He's awake. So I love it. No, I love it.
We've always had great conversations, and I was really excited to do this. So yeah. And also, like, it's quarantine. I don't go anywhere. I don't see people. I don't talk to people. So there's been a lot. You
Okay. Well, no, we're going to part 2. We're going to do another one.
Please. I would love to.
No, I do. And in all seriousness,
and I'm going to have you on my shows also.
I'd love to. I'll come on. I'll come on anytime. But I like to hear people, like I said earlier, hearing you guys' perspective is because, again, I'm an old guy. And so I want to hear I want to hear what the next generations are saying, because this is your world. Like, what kind of world do you want? I tell you guys all the time, what do you guys want to do? I mean, what do you want? And again, I come from a time where I used to protest, and I was into that. And my mother was a hippie, and I grew up with all that I grew up with all that stuff. So I believe in this kind of, shaking up the system. The system isn't working. It really isn't working. And we saw that last 4 years, especially. It was always not working, but we saw it even more so. And I'll just end it with, kind of with this, that when people say they're so shocked by all these 74 million people, like, why are you shocked? I don't know why anybody's shocked. I'm not shocked.
Yeah. If you were paying attention, you shouldn't be shocked.
Right, exactly.
You can be upset,
right.
You can be disappointed,
right?
But you shouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, you should be shocked. I'm like, that's just kind of whatever. So anyway,
all right.
Nate and I have our realities, and we'll bring our realities back together again on another show. We're gonna do it. Like, I love Nate Miller, so it's fine. So tell folks where they can actually find. Well, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever they can find you. Like, tell them they can find you.
Yeah. So you can find me. I'm really lucky. I'm pretty much everywhere at Dog Like Nate. That's dog with 2 G's. So that's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. But what I will ask you is, if you are on Twitch, please go to twitch.tv/doglikeNate. Give me a follow. I'm doing some gaming streaming now while I'm just kind of getting things set up. But eventually the plan is to get some podcast shows on there, do some different content, do some political talk, also some gaming and some nerd stuff. So we'll see. We'll get some stuff going. But yeah, this was really awesome to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks, James.
My pleasure. And I'm going to put it in the put it inside. Everybody in chat room, thank you for. Oh, so I because somebody named Evangeline said, while I will never be one to say Canada is perfect, Nate knows this. I learned so many things in school that I'm astounded. So many Americans did not learn, i.e., Tulsa Massacre. Everybody should read that now. A lot of folks didn't know about that. A lot of folks did not know about that, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I
I
know
found
about
out
that.
from Watchmen.
Right, there you go, right. And everybody's just like amazing conversation. They're saying hi to you and me. So yeah, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us tonight on this. Well, in LA, it's a little chilly. He has his on, I have my on. My house is cold all of a sudden. I got to turn my heater on.
I love it. I love the cold.
It just tell you, obviously, it went lower and lower. I'm like, okay, it's getting colder all of a sudden. Must be getting later. But yeah, so go ahead and follow him. I'll put his links in the bio right now. Follow me. We're all James Lott Jr. is sold at James Lott Jr. and all social media platforms. I have audio series that are out, and they're very diverse. Speaking of diversity and inclusion, I have a lot of great voice actors doing some very interesting work that I wrote, actually. And so we're doing that. That's on any streaming service platform you can think of. Check out my podcast and all of my shows. Again, very diverse. I have all kinds of guests from all walks of life. We talk about stuff. We do. We talk about stuff. Next week on the show, I have Flobo Boyce coming on. I'm going to ask him things I never know about him. I'm going to find out about him in ways that I didn't know about him. So we're going to ask him all these strange questions. So get ready for that. And then on this Friday, I have a videographer named Mar. That's what he goes by, Latino videographer, who is trying to change the world through the lens. And so we're going to talk this Friday and talk about that also. He does some great stuff. But please share these with anybody you think needs to see these and comment. I don't care. Comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about Nate, me, whatever. I talk about it. I love the engagement. Please. And I love the engagement, so I don't care. Talk about it. Oh, Tammy Gomea. Hi, Tammy Gomea. Another after buzzer. Okay, so, but yeah, just go ahead and do that also. And follow me on TikTok. I don't do any of the dances. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't bust it or anything. But I have 4 series on there. Spoken word series, a life coaching series, organizing series, and a Star Wars series, all on TikTok. Follow me at James Lott Jr. It's so simple, folks. I'm everywhere at James Lott Jr. And everybody, please be safe. Try to be sane, and hang in there because this is